Hey everybody, it's Tasha, and this is my recap and review for Arrow Season 6, Episode 3. This episode, oh boy, I have so many words. And yes, I'm going to bury the lead and save my Olicity thoughts for the end. I'm going to start off by saying that with each episode, I enjoy this show more and more because it feels seasoned. All the conflicts the characters face and the way that they resolve it feels honest and mature. They've found their groove after 6 years. They know what they're doing with this show now. There's some forced moments, drama, but I'm going to choose to go with it and see where it leads because I think it's going to give us some really interesting character development. So this week we get Green Diggle. Now, I know a lot of people took issue with Dig being the Arrow, not just because Oliver Queen is Green Arrow, and that's what we as viewers signed up for, but also because Oliver's reason for stepping down was that his son needs him, yet John has a son too. I love that the show actually addressed this. They've been doing that lately. All the things that the viewers have complained about or questioned, they just talk about it. But even prior to that, my viewpoint on it was pretty simple. Oliver had an opinion on the dangers of Dig being in the field when baby Sarah was born, and Dig told him exactly what he could do with that opinion. John Jr. has Dig and Lila, but beyond that, they made a decision as a couple that Dig would continue to be out in the field. So whether he's there as Spartan or as Green Arrow, Dig is in the same amount of danger. And that's a decision that him and his family found to be an acceptable risk. As for Dig, I think it boils down to his code of honor. He, at his core, believes that Oliver's his brother, and he knows that he's overwhelmed and floundering. And since he swore to always have his back, I think that's exactly what he's trying to do. Even though it's obvious this isn't going to end well. And I have a few predictions on the fallout that I'll probably do a separate video about. So I'm going to start with the two main plot points for this episode. The first being John's journey as he steps into the persona of Green Arrow, and the second being Oliver and the life he's trying to carve out for himself now that he's retired. The episode starts with the team going after none other than the annoying Faust that we saw in episode 1 with Black Siren, and they easily managed to apprehend him. But things get complicated when a Black Ops team, led by a woman named Onyx, break into Cord Industries, killing all the staff in order to get information. Dinah shows up at the crime scene and manages to get the team access to Cord servers. Felicity figures out exactly what Onyx is looking for, and that's nerve gas. The team tries to stop her from attaining it, but Dig freezes in the field and she manages to get away. Of course, Diggle feels horrible, and that feeling only gets worse when he finds out that she plans to release the gas, killing hundreds, just to mask the fact that she's going after 3 members of her team that defected after they stole millions of dollars in gold. This lady is not about leaving any loose ends. I enjoyed this story, and not because of the villain, and usually I'm very fond of the villains, but because it created really strong character moments, in particular a moment between Oliver and John. After Renee goes to tattle to Oliver, Dig tells Oliver that he's not used to shouldering the burden of the hard decisions alone. And Oliver tells him that the only reason he became a hero, someone more than the guy checking names off a list, is because John showed him how. It was such a pure moment of friendship and brotherhood between these characters, and I loved it. But sadly, for me, it was tainted by the knowledge that Dig is keeping secrets from Ollie. Never in the history of ever has keeping secrets ended well on Arrow. So while our team eventually manages to save the day and catch the bad guys, and Dig gets a very cool new crossbow, courtesy of Smoke and Holt, we later find out that Dig is not only hiding his injury, but the cure. which comes in the form of an injection that he's getting from some shady dealer in a back alley. So this is very not good. While Dig is facing trouble on the streets, Oliver's struggles were in the office and on the home front. Mr. Mayor is facing off against the city council, who's very focused on vigilantes due to Agent Watson still being in town and shining a light on the fact that a team of vigilantes in the city is making law enforcement seem incompetent. They want to reinstate a task force to shut them down, and Oliver, of course, can't have that. It's his legacy. And so he hands it off to Deputy Mayor Lance to find him the votes to stop the bill. Lance can't do that, but he does find a clause that will essentially be a stay of execution. It seems to me that Oliver wants to allow the citizens of Star City to decide for themselves if they get to keep their masked heroes. I feel like this story can really only go one way, with Agent Watson doggedly after him and the city getting a vote on vigilantes. This only ends with Oliver having a Tony Stark moment where he tells the city that he's the Green Arrow. But this week, vigilante justice isn't Oliver's only problem. Papa Queen has no idea how to help his son with his homework. William is behind in math because, he got kidnapped, then he moved, then he got kidnapped again, then his mom died, and then he moved. So Oliver, with his charm and his hard eyes, shows up at his girl Wednesday's door and asks her for some advice on how to help William. Felicity is great. She's quippy and patient and supportive, and she tells him that if he listens to William, he'll tell him what he needs and how best to help him. And in the end, Oliver realizes that what his son needs is a tutor, so he enlists Felicity's help. It leads to a really sweet bonding moment between Felicity and William, and Oliver sees this, and he realizes that Felicity isn't just a supportive, stabilizing presence in his life, but she can be that for William too. So after William aces his exam, Oliver shows up at Felicity's place with a gift, a key to his apartment. He decides that he doesn't want to wait anymore, and that if she's willing, then he wants her to be in both him and William's lives. Can I just go ahead and applaud the Arrow writers for this? My biggest issue with Oliver lying about William in season 4 was that I couldn't get past how wrong it was for him to basically make her a stepmother without her knowledge. He proposed twice, but essentially was going to blindside her with a child after they said their vows. So I'm happy that this time around, he's giving her an option to be a part of their lives. And she isn't overstepping on his time or his relationship with his son. This is how you handle a mature, healthy relationship. So thank you, our writers, for finally getting it right. And if they can continue down this path, balancing the interpersonal relationships with the villain and the main story arc and not letting one overwhelm the other this season, then it's going to be amazing. So that's my take on this episode. What did you guys think? Are you enjoying Diggle as the Green Arrow? Are you as curious as I am about this mystery drug that he's taking to stop the tremors and what the side effects are going to be? And lastly, are you liking the way they're handling Oliver connecting with his son and rekindling his relationship with Felicity?